Welcome to Techstination. Joining us is Jim Malcolm, the GM for North America at Human Eyes Technologies. Thanks for joining us, Jim.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for coming by.
Well, tell us a little bit of background, first of all, for folks who aren't familiar with Human Eyes Technologies.
Well, Human Eyes Technology is a company that's been in business for about 16 years, specializing in 3D printing, computer animation, and 3D graphics. For the last 4 years, we've really focused our attention into the virtual reality space and helped bring all of that imaging to life in one of those VR headsets that people wear.
And you've had a camera on the market for a little bit now, the VUZE.
Yep, the original VUZE hit the market about 2 years ago. The second generation of that hit back in January of this year. And that product is a fully immersive 360-degree 3D VR video camera. Sounds like a mouthful, but basically it records everything around you with both a left and a right eye image. So when you put it in a headset, you can see everything around you in stereo 3D.
And it's kind of a square-shaped device, a camera?
It is. It's if you're old enough to remember what a Discman looked like, where you could put your disc player on it. But yeah, it's kind of a square device, and there's a series of 8 cameras around it that all look out around. And then after you were done recording, we take all of the data from all 8 of those cameras and stitch it into a single file that is used in a VR headset.
And now you're doing something new. Tell us what you've got coming to market.
We are doing something new, and what we really wanted to do with this new product is called the VUZE XR, and we really wanted to build a bridge that stayed true to our core competency, which is this 3D and our quest to really make VR imaging popular, but also reach out to a very broad market that uses 360-degree cameras just to capture images onto your mobile phone itself. So call it an arm's length experience where I can take a recording, I can put it on my mobile phone, and I can move it around with my finger, or I can make something called a tiny planet, which is a little graphical kind of representation of the whole video laid out on a field. It's really a great way to start to immerse and interact with videos on your mobile phone.
And it's a lot smaller. And the whole form factor has changed here.
You're right, it has changed. It's a lot smaller. It's like a king-size candy bar. Maybe not the giant candy bars, but somewhere between the regular candy bar and a king size. When it's in what we call the closed position, on one end of it you have a handle that you hold onto, and at the top end there are 2 lenses. One faces, well, let's just call it north, the other one south. And this way, actually technically it would be east and west.
Those are 180-degree lenses, roughly?
Yeah, so actually we use a 180-degree field of view, but each one is capable of capturing 220 degrees field of view. So this way we have an overlap between the 2 cameras, so that when we stitch it together, we can make this seamless field that makes it really look like you're in one environment, even though it was shot with 2 cameras.
And that's for this 360-degree VR mode.
So that would be the 360. I won't call that VR because it's not stereo, because you're only using one point of view. So in that case, we call that 360 2D, where you get to see everything, but it's not in stereo. So I said earlier on that the camera was this hybrid or this bridge to VR, and that's because what we did on the camera is we installed a small little button up by the lenses, and when you press it, it releases the lenses and they pop out and become forward-facing cameras in parallel that capture 180 degrees 3D VR video.
And for people who are wondering, well, what are you talking about? Let me envision this. Put it into words.
All right, so I'm going to go back to our company name for a second, Human Eyes. And basically, when you open up the camera, it opens up so that one lens is placed where your left eye is, the other lens where your right eye is. And what's interesting about that is if we record exactly the field of view that the human eye sees, when you play that back in a VR headset, it's basically like digitally reproducing your vision in the headset itself. So you can actually relive life's moments in a headset recorded in the way that you saw it.
Very cool. Now, tell us about the usability and how you get this into a usable file that people can make use of.
That's a great question, and quite frankly, it's another driver as to why we came up with this particular product versus the first generation of and second generation of the VUZE camera. So The easiest way to use this camera is to simply shoot and store to the memory card that's in the camera. It stores onto a micro SD card. So you just power up the camera and you push the record button. Now, when you do that, we record in 4K of resolution. And then you can later on just either move that to your mobile phone, or you can move it to your computer or upload it to Facebook, YouTube, that type of network.
Tell us about availability and pricing.
So the camera itself is $439. We are taking pre-orders now. It will become available late November of this year, so 18. And right now we do have a pre-order special going on through November 4th, which is if you purchase the camera, we're going to throw in an underwater housing and a memory card for you to get you started as kind of a thank you for supporting us during the launch phase.
And the underwater housing, is it usable in both modes or only one mode?
So the camera, the mode that we are supplying with the purchase of the camera is the 360-degree mode, so the one that captures everything around you. In Q1 of 19, we are going to come out with a second enclosure, which will actually fit the camera when it's in the open position for stereo.
Tell us about the market for VR today. Is it? I've read different things about consumer adoption.
Yeah, consumer adoption is probably one of the most misunderstood. When we go through the hype cycle of VR, there were a lot of things like Google Cardboard and Zeiss Ones and a lot of these kind of headsets that you put your mobile phone into, Samsung, and a lot of those numbers went out, but not a lot of people used them, right? Maybe they got it free when they bought their phone or they just started trying it and they were underwhelmed with it. So that category is dropping off pretty significantly. However, there's really sharp growth on self-contained units, primarily the Oculus Go, which is a $299 price point, but you don't have to put your phone in it because all of the electronics in the screen is already built into it. So this way you have a standalone device that will give you video, gives you interactive environments, you can get all kinds of different VR experiences on it for just $299.
Terrific stuff. So there's still a lot of growth ahead.
There's a tremendous amount of growth ahead. I was just at a conference called OC5, and Mark Zuckerberg was talking about the future of the Oculus. Last year at his seminar, he said, hey, we're going to sell 1 billion headsets. And of course, everybody laughed. And this year, he put up a slide, the same slide, this 1 billion goal, and he says, I'm happy to announce we're at 1%. Now, of course, everybody laughed that over the course of the year, they only made a 1% penetration against their billion-unit goal. However, when you really sit back and think about 1% of a billion is 10 million headsets that are in the market. So it is a significant number that really we're moving towards that kind of real early adopter, tech-savvy person to a much more mainstream consumer who wants to understand what this category is all about.
Cool. Once again, it's the VUZE XR from Humanize Technology. Jim Malcolm, thanks for taking the time with us.
Hey, my pleasure. Come by anytime. We'll go shoot some video.
Now this. How many companies out there have continued to innovate when it comes to building a better radio? I'm Fred Fishkin, host of Techstination, and I'm here to tell you about the new CC Skywave SSB radio from the wonderful people at C-Crane. Bob and his crew really love radio, and it shows in this new compact model that is packed with features. Beyond great AM and FM reception and sound, you can tune into shortwave signals from around the world, listen to ham radio operators, aviation, and more. It's the radio you'll turn to every day, and in emergencies. It will run for nearly 3 days on just 2 AA batteries. Pair the sleep timer with the new Soft Speaker 3, and you've got the perfect radio for your nightstand. Of course, it can wake you up too. Click on C-Crane at Techstination.com and put in the code Techstination for a free flashlight with your order. They love radio, and you'll love C-Crane.